Hello, Morocco. Welcome to this next video. I'm Ryan with Maroc Treasure, and I'm here with Aimane Cherragui, and we are talking today about entrepreneurship, public speaking, looking for jobs, the tech sector. We cover a ton of ground, so enjoy this next video. You're going to benefit a lot. Let's go. So Aimane, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to chat with you.
Thank you for having me.
Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us about the work that you do?
Yeah, so I'm Aimane Cherragui, Moroccan obviously. I offer my services as a consultant to many organizations, public sector, private sector, but also non-profits. And I consult specifically on 3 areas of expertise. First one is non-profits capacities building. So I've been helping a lot of non-profits here in Morocco, either based on their own development plans or either backed up by an international donor. So the aim is that I help them in their strategic planification, fundraising, monitoring and evaluation, and how can they become a better non-profit organization. Second area of expertise, HR. So back previously in another life, I was a recruitment officer in a multinational company here based in Casablanca. And after I went independent, I kept that consulting service also, so I can recruit, I can hire, I can also train and organize team buildings for HR departments. I've also worked with private sectors and nonprofits in that sense. Third area of expertise is what you call like moderating and supervising discussions, big forums, big discussions, big conferences. And I've had the chance, I was lucky to moderate and animate several big thematic forums, either here in Morocco, Tunisia, Jordan, Kuwait. I've been really lucky to do it all over the MENA region. So yeah, those are the 3 areas of expertise that I've been doing through the last, I'll say, 8 years as an independent consultant.
That's great. Okay, well, we have a lot of ground to cover then.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're doing such meaningful work. You know, what you do in this role impacts people's lives at a very important level, which is really cool. And a lot of people would say, that sounds amazing to get paid to change the world. But how did you get into this niche? I mean, how did you establish yourself as an expert in this field? It's such a specialized area.
It was practically learning by doing. There are not, I'll say, I know that inside Moroccan universities, you will not find a certifying curricula that will prepare you for this. So there are no bachelor degrees or master's degrees that are gonna prepare you for this. So it was learning by doing. After, in 2014, I started this, and it was mainly because I had a strong nonprofit background as a board chairman, also as a, I will say, volunteer, and as a board member of several organizations. So I've implemented things, I've done things, and this gave me experience. And with that came also another maybe strong ability that I have, is that I can process things up. So if I have a set of knowledge, a set of skills, I can really put them into a learning, I will say, mold, and I can explain that to people, and I can help them understand how to do it. So basically teaching skills helped me a lot in this. And this is why I started to see that I can really help people understand this and help them do this in the field. And this is where I started. And it started, first of all, doing it pro bono till I gained experience and I like mastered the techniques and the way to do it. And after that, I started billing my services in 2015, and things just took up from there.
Okay. From
one customer to another, to an international organization, to work in other countries. Like my first international experience as a consultant started in 2017 in Kuwait, and from there things just opened up all over the MENA region.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And there's so many lessons from that in even any niche. You started by getting involved yourself. You were serving, you were volunteering, and then you started helping other organizations pro bono. You were doing it for free.
Absolutely.
You gained experience, you gained a reputation, and eventually you were able to bill somebody, and you got more opportunities. You did an excellent job, and word of mouth spread. And so people who think, oh, I'd love to be in his position, you've laid out the pathway. You have to start from the bottom and serve and gain experience, and over time you get more opportunities.
I couldn't agree more. There's a level of commitment and there's a level of devotion to it. And they've worked pro bono for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
No.
No, for 1.5 years. And by doing this, I was also telling myself that you need this in order to become good at what you're doing. Because after that, if someone is giving you their money, if they are paying you, you need to be good.
Right.
And in order to be good, you need to practice and you need to learn and you need to always reassess your methods and your ways. So whenever you have a project or you have a career choice or you want to do something in life, you need to know that there is a minimal amount of devotion and commitment and the number of hours that you should be investing in learning what you are going to do.
Yeah.
It can be in anything. You can be a cook chief in a restaurant, you can be a teacher, you can be an accountant, you can be you may work in marketing, you may be an attorney, but you will need a certain number of hours to become good at something.
Yeah.
And this reminds me, by the way, of the magnificent tool I've read in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers.
Yes.
And he underlined this huge, interesting theory of the 10,000 hours rule.
Right.
And he said that to become experts, I mean, that the top level experts, worldwide known, you need to invest 10,000 hours doing the thing. So if you are a musician playing, for example, violin, 10,000 hours of practice will make you a hell of top-notch violinists all over the world.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to all other domains in life. And we're not looking here to be a top number one thing, but maybe I can say that at least 500, 600 hours, 800 hours would be something fair to invest in a certain domain to become good at it.
Right.
As a starting point.
Yeah, so just to do some quick math, if you're working 40 hours a week as a full-time job, you take 2 weeks vacation a year, that's 2,000 hours just 1 year. So you're talking about 5 years full-time devoted to something to really reach that top expert level.
Absolutely.
So there's commitment there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you also mentioned you have a lot of experience as a recruiter. A lot of people that are watching this video are on the other end where they're searching for jobs. Do you have any advice or tips that can help them in that process?
Oh, several. Just tell me when to stop. I will say that, first of all, you really need to have a destination. I mean, you're looking for a job, okay, totally fine. You can work either with the government, so public job. You can also work in the private sector, but also at non-profits, because they are recruiting also in Morocco and they can really offer some nice salaries who are really market competitive. But think about it. You need to know exactly what you want. Do you want to work with the government, private sector, or non-profits? Choice done. Now step 2. What can you do? Do you know what are your, I will say, most top 3 skills? And starting from there, you will need to narrow down that search until at the end you have like 3, 4 top suited for you job descriptions that you are going to go and hunt out there in the market. Yeah. Because not all job openings are for you. Right. Not all job opportunities are for you. They are for all people. But when you narrow down the search and you are really accurate and precise about it, and you've done your CV right, you've done your motivation letter, you've got 2 nice recommendation letters as well, so you've got your paperwork done, and then when you narrow down the search, you're more efficient and you're more practical, and you can also evaluate your progression in the job search process itself. Yeah. When you start applying right and left, what you do is inevitably raise the level of frustration you are going to feel 1 month or 2 months later. Yeah. Like, and it's math. When you say that I applied for 200, 300 positions, I sent 300 emails, I called 300 companies, and no one answered, well, you are doing it the wrong way, because those 300 are not suited for you. If you narrow down the search, maybe you're going to come down to 20. And if you call 20 and you get 1 phone call back or 1 interview from the 20, it's a nice ratio you have there. Yeah. Because if you have 1 on 300, that can be frustrating. I know that the Moroccan labor market is very competitive because we have a lot of job seekers, but at the same time, our economy is not able to produce enough jobs for everyone. We have a very basic economy, and it's an economy based on services in general. Services, then industry, and finally we have agriculture. So it's a very competitive one, and in order to find a spot, you really need to step out of the line, as we say, because there are a lot of people who can do the same thing that you are offering at the same time. Like every year in Morocco, we have around 60,000 people who have their bachelor's degree in Morocco every year. So that's quite a big cohort to compete with on the market. So what do you have more? Maybe you master English a little bit more than others. Maybe you're good in Microsoft Office Pack, so you're really good at Excel. And Excel, by the way, is a very interesting software to master. It can really give you interesting professional experience just because you are good at Excel, for example. Maybe you are good in working with people, and you've gained that because you've volunteered in the past and you've done good works in some volunteering work on non-profit engagements that you had. That also can help you, and it shows up in the interview, by the way. It's not because I have a degree that I am employable. That's a very interesting, I will say, conclusion at the end, and it's a reality. Having a degree doesn't mean that you are employable. Employable doesn't mean educated. Educated doesn't guarantee employment. Employment is something else. Being educated helps you in your employment, in getting better jobs with a better paycheck and with better opportunities. But being employable is also a mindset. It's a mindset and a set of skills that you need to have, and organizations are looking for it.
Yeah, you're right. If you're competing with 60,000 others that have a degree just like you, then to stand out, to be different, or to be someone that offers more value to a company. You mentioned your language skills. You mentioned computer skills or software skills, like some of the basics like Microsoft Office Pack. Is there anything else that you feel like you also mentioned working with people? So students, rather than just focusing on their classes and their grades, but getting involved in extracurriculars, being involved in teams and clubs and associations to grow in those areas. Anything else you would add to that for a young student that's preparing for their future career?
So I will always give this advice to have as much of internships as possible. You need to put your steps inside private organizations, non-profits, or public organizations, so whatever. But if you have a free summer, go and have an internship somewhere. Being an intern in a company helps you assimilate what's waiting for you after graduation. You can see people working, you know what is like to have a hierarchy, to have an organization, to see people coming at 9, leaving at 5, having meetings. Maybe they might even allow you to attend one of those meetings, and you will see how things go inside. And then you know that there's this thing called accountability, and people are accountable for their jobs, and they need to give reports on what they have done and how they are trying to figure out the next steps on their job. And these things are priceless, man. These things are priceless. And you can't learn them at school. You will only learn them inside organizations. So have as much internships as you can get before graduation. This is certainly going to boost your employability later.
That's good. Now, would you recommend a limit on how long an internship could be? Because I've seen some people complaining, I worked 6 months at this company and then it didn't lead to a job, and so I've lost all this time. Would you say there's any advice for someone in that situation?
Yeah, first of all, they've lost no time at all. They gained experience, they invested time, and now they are better professionals than they were 6 months before, no? So that's it, because an internship is not a recruitment promise. Youth should know that. And even if we have, for example, here in Morocco, something called a stage de pré-embauche, So it's an internship which with a possible promise of recruitment. But I will say that all internships are in general can be followed by a promise of recruitment. So it's not because we say that we might hire you after the internship doesn't oblige the company in no way whatsoever to do that. So people should know that an internship is a win-win situation where the company gets to get an additional human resource in their teams that can help their managers do their jobs, or at least be free from some tasks to do more strategic jobs, and the tasks can be done with interns. And the interns at the same time, they are gaining interesting experience to put on their CVs. They learn how things go on inside firms. They can even acquire skills. They can become better professionals, and so everybody wins. The same, even the state, even the government wins, because the firm is more productive, but also this young student is more experienced. So internships they can be frustrating experiences for some students. I totally understand that, but only if you see it from a very short-term perspective. You shouldn't be frustrated about it, because at the same time, these people, in my opinion, they've done you a favor, because you can put their names and their addresses, and you can ask for a reference letter from them, and you've really, I will say, filled and improved your resume with that experience. And it's not 6 months that have been lost. It's 6 months of professional experience added to your resume.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a very interesting nuance to do. You've lost nothing.
That's
you
good.
invested 6 additional months that's now appearing on your CV. And in Morocco, for example, and also all over the world, internships are considered as professional experience. So you don't need to get paid in order to say that you have professional experience. Even unpaid internships, they are considered as professional experience.
But I've found with my students, there can be, not all internships are created equal. Meaning I've got some interns where they were basically doing the employee level work, and they were entrusted with a lot of responsibility. They got a great experience. They even made sales and earned income for the company. And then I have other students where they were basically wasting a ton of time doing random tasks, photocopies, getting coffee, not really learning a lot. And what advice would you have for someone that feels like they're not gaining much from their internship? How can they turn things around and get the value from it?
If it's a short-term internship, like it's a 1 month, it's a 2 month thing, I will say that at that time, if you feel that your tutor, the company is not what you've been looking for, or even if you are really, I will say, if you are playing it right, you're asking for tasks, you're trying to be productive, you're putting yourself available for the company and for the people, but they are not taking it from you. So if it's a short-term thing, just stay there, learn the maximum that you can. Maybe you can have some spare time, you can work on your thesis, or you can learn some things online, and wait for those 2 months to end and get your certificate and get out of there. But if it's a long-term internship and you are 100% sure that this is going to be a waste of time, you need to leave. So that's my advice. You leave it right there. After 2 months, it's clear, and you still have 4 months to go, you must leave, because in all I will say situations that might occur, it's not going to be beneficial for you. And if you are doing it only for a certificate, at least you can earn that certificate elsewhere, but with some real work that's being done as well. So leave a place where you feel that you are not working, you are not learning, and it's not interesting. Now I'm saying this to those internships who really, because you say you're just making coffee, you're making photocopies, you're just scrolling on your social media, you've been asking for tasks and no one is giving that to you, you've been trying to do things but there is no feedback from the organization, just leave it out there. But on the other hand, if you are working and you say you are working the same work as those employees are doing, you even generated income for the company, and they didn't hire you, they are not, I will say, rewarding enough, and there is no recognition of this work, that's okay, because you are not doing it for people's recognition. You are doing it for your own resume. You are doing it for your own professional path and growth.
Yeah.
So keep there, stay there, keep learning. I prefer you remain busy
Yeah.
and even taking advantage of, exploit it in an internship, rather than to do nothing. And even if they don't pay you, that's additional skills that's going to give you additional income later. Just
that's
be
right.
patient about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good advice. Circle back to, you mentioned that being educated doesn't necessarily make you employable.
Yeah.
There's different skills, and you also said mindset. Can you tell us more about what is the mindset of somebody who's working rather than just studying at school?
Well, first of all, I will say that studying is a very individualistic path. In general, academic excellence is overrated, I will say, in our society. So when you are a major or doing academically well, so you are the pride of the family, pride of the neighborhood. Your cousins are talking about you. You are good. You are great, etc. But that's only in school. But what about life inside organization? That's a totally different story.
Right.
And if you are excellent academically, you are excellent on your own, because there is no teamwork there. So you've got your own way of doing things, your method, and the exams also are a bias in themselves, because you study something and then we ask you questions about that theme, about that discipline, and you answer back, and we say that's good, you've mastered that, here's your mark. But in real life inside organizations, things don't go that way, because firms face very complicated situations, the market. Education doesn't mean employability.
Yeah.
It will help you, but you still need something else. What's the mindset? The mindset is to be able to solve problems. That's all. Real life problems.
Yeah.
Not theory, hypothetical, on paper problems. Real life problems. And to solve real life problems, you need to work with people. You need to make a lot of phone calls. You need to benchmark. You need to ask. You need to ask for advice. You need to experiment. You need to fail. You need to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And in general, those who are excellent academically, they don't allow themselves to do that, because the relationship they have with mistakes and they have with failing is a very perverted relationship.
Right.
They've done it really good, and they don't allow them to fail.
Yeah.
They don't allow themselves to fail. But when they go into real life professional experience, with the first hit or two, they kind of lose confidence.
Yeah.
And they're saying, this is something that I wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah.
So I prefer to brief my students about this before they go to the labor market, and saying that what the mindset that you have here in school, keep it. It will help you, but don't count on it when you're inside employees.
Yeah.
It's like you are going to immigrate to a new country, and you will need to learn from scratch.
Right.
Because school is a country.
Yeah.
And your employer is another country. So consider yourself an immigrant with a temporary status.
That's
and just
great.
learn, fit in,
Yeah.
understand the culture, learn the basics, and you will get yourself inside.
Yeah, that is really powerful. I love that analogy. That some of the things that help you perform well in school and in the academic world really don't translate. You know, it's irrelevant in this new country of the corporate world.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned the importance of making sure that you know how to work well with people. And so this ties into the advice you gave earlier about making sure it's not just about your grades and your studies, but that you're involved in extracurricular things too. You're developing strong character as well.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. There's an old saying that A students work for C students. You know, that often is the case.
And it's confirmed also here in Morocco, by the way. Yeah.
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 So some of those C students are successful because they become entrepreneurs. Can you tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurship scene in Morocco and how things are going?
It's a booming scene right now. It's really going exponential.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. You can imagine that there is money available for funding. There are opportunities. We've got business incubators. We've got business accelerators. So the infrastructure, the background is here. All what we need is good projects, good business models, good business plans, and finding funding and finding incubation, for example, is not a big deal because it's all here. And Moroccan's government have been really doing a lot of work in order to develop this ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Morocco, and but also international partners, also universities. Like right now in Morocco, we have 16 universities, and in the 16 universities, we have 7 incubators for university students.
Wow.
Which is a very interesting ratio to have.
Yeah.
So we are starting to initiate students to entrepreneurship at an early age.
Yeah.
And I think that we need also to go below that and do these incubators, these startup incubators inside high schools. Maybe we can have some brilliant minds who have interesting ideas.
Are there certain fields or industries that are growing more than others, or where there's great opportunities?
Sure, tech field. Tech field is booming. So if you are good in coding, and you are good in producing interesting websites and mobile apps, but also you are good in putting the architecture of an information system, for example, there are people who are willing to pay you to do that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of freelancers working for that. Also, e-commerce is booming in Morocco.
Yeah.
So you can put some nice products there online and people are going to shop online. You just need to figure out the supply chain system in order to deliver efficiently, and you can really make some good money from that.
Yeah.
So e-commerce, tech field, social entrepreneurship, you can really make money in Morocco also by helping people in rural areas solve some social problems, and you can make money of that. We have a lot of social entrepreneurs in Morocco. We can also talk about the agri-tech service, how to use technology in order to develop agriculture. How can you, for example, put a smart irrigation system, how to use renewable energy, for example, wind and solar energy, in order to help the agricultures all around Morocco. So a lot of booming in industries going on right now in Morocco, and a lot of potential. We just need good projects. And I've been a jury member in a lot of entrepreneurship competitions.
Yeah.
And the problem is that we have these young people coming to us, and from 10, I will say we have 2 only sustainable business models. The others, they were not really, I will say, well designed, and there are a lot of flaws. So you see that no way this is going to make money, no way this is going to financially sustain itself. So 2 out of 10 make it to the grant level. And some, for example, Moroccans will know that there is this program called Intelaka.
Okay.
And Intelaka, you can translate it in like this starting point for entrepreneurs. It's a lot of money. It's 60 billion dirhams.
Wow.
60 billion dirhams, like $6 billion put there over the next 5 or 6 years to give us loans, credit loans from the banks to young entrepreneurs at a very low interest rate, which is 2% only. And Intelaka has been launched 2 years now, and they didn't even distribute, I will say, 8% of all available funding for that.
Wow.
Because the state also, and it's smart, this is not charity.
Right.
They're not just going to give money away because you are young and beautiful, and you have cool eyes, and you look great, and you have a good idea, so that we're gonna fund you. No, but this shows that the money is still waiting there.
Yeah.
But interesting businesses and business ideas and business models haven't yet made it to this point where you can convince a banker to say that this looks nice. I know it's risky, but at least I can go with it.
It's got a chance.
It's got a chance, and they fund and really some young Moroccan entrepreneurs got their funding to launch their startups and being incubated in incubation programs or business acceleration programs. So it's going well.
That's cool.
This is the hype moment, really. If you want to be an entrepreneur in Morocco, this is the decade where you want to be that entrepreneur.
Wow.
2020, 2030. It's money is there, incubation is there, business acceleration is there, opportunities and other things that are being put in place in order to help you become an entrepreneur. You just need to get that business idea clear in your mind and to study it well, understand your customer, understand your market, diversify your revenue streams, optimize your costs, know your partners well, get a nice staff, and do that business right.
Are those some of the flaws that you mentioned? You said that 8 out of 10 pitches that you hear at these entrepreneurship summits, they make these mistakes with their business model. Are they related to what you just shared?
Yeah. especially when we talk about diversifying the revenue streams. Like for example, they are counting on one revenue stream. So how are you going to make money out of this guy? It's annual subscriptions. Okay, so but what's beside that?
Yeah.
Nothing. You're not gonna make it.
Right.
No way, because for 1, 2, 3, 4, and we give the reasons. For example, they don't know their market yet. So, for example, this mobile app, they were planning to help people, for example, find some healthcare, I will say assistants, maybe doctors, maybe healing nurses around them, and how to connect these people with these healing nurses and doctors, and at the same time getting paid for it. And when they explain the architecture, the app is great, but when we talk about money generation and how are you going to make money out of it, things become a little bit flawed. We don't understand it.
The last thing you mentioned was you've had the chance to moderate and animate all sorts of different conferences and events in many different nations and all across Morocco. For somebody who's interested in public speaking or in moderating like that, do you have any advice for how they can grow that skill?
Yeah, first of all, read.
Okay.
Yeah, read a lot. If you want to speak, if you want to be a good speaker, you need to be a great reader, because you need vocabulary to do it.
Yeah.
You know, good speakers, they have the words, they have the sentences, they have these expressions. From where do they get it, in your opinion? Books.
Right.
So first of all, read a lot. You need to read to gain that vocabulary, to gain that flexibility in the expression generating process in your mind. You need to have a good background in terms of words. Second thing, you need to test, you need to try. So you need to talk, basically.
Yeah.
Like for example, before moderating conferences, you need to assist and be a participant in conferences. And then at the end, when there is the questions and answers session, you raise your hand, you ask for the mic, and you stand up, and you ask your questions, and you interact, and you ask the panelists. So you need to exercise. It doesn't just come like that. No one is born a good speaker. It's been an exercise.
Yeah.
They've been put into situations, either voluntarily or involuntarily, where they had to speak in front of people, and this is how they got it. Get inside nonprofits and do voluntary work and go on charity projects. Meet people, talk to them, defend your projects, for example, defend your ideas. Try to do things with people so that you understand people. And when you understand people, you know how to talk to people. That also helps.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure to have you.
Sure. Thank you
Appreciate
very much
all
for the
your
invitation.
advice.
I
It's been
appreciate
great.
it too. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you for having me.